Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you. Wake up and remember.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, our guest has over 36 years of experience and 1,000+ residential investigations. He has spent a lifetime confronting the darkest hauntings and demonic phenomena. Now, he's pulling back the curtain in his new autobiography, Living Life Haunted. Get ready for an unfiltered look at the emotional toll and hidden dangers of a life spent in the shadows. We will explore with the man behind the research and investigations. All this plus more. Please welcome our good friend and author of the book, Living Life Haunted, Dr. Bill Slevin. Dr. Slevin, my friend, welcome back to Let's Find Out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. I know that last year we had something set up, but I think it kind of lucky for you, unlucky for me, for however you want to say it, that your book just dropped and then you were just busy out there promoting the book and doing the signings. How's that been going?
Yeah, that's been after September. It was a little hectic. I was running around to a bunch of horror conventions and festivals that they were bringing me into. I was all over Florida. They took me to Canada, Tennessee, all over. It was a lot of fun.
Man, well traveled. And I know because I know you're very well known also on television as well, because you've done different programs, different episodes with different. I think you were on Discovery not long ago. Was that right?
Yeah, I was on one of their shock docs called The Devil's Academy, which was it was about a 2-hour documentary about a mass possession of a high school in Miami in 1979. Really, really interesting story.
There's something about the 70s because some of the most messed up things happened back then. And, you know, I was born in the 70s, but I was raised in the 80s. Even in the 80s, a lot of weird stuff happened during that time. And normally, the way I set up the show, my friend, I had a question. I usually do the old coup de grace and finish it towards the end. But I think I'm going to start with this question.
Sure.
I think it's the most important one. And I'm going to try to be a little different because I know you've done a lot of interviews and I want to make sure that I don't want to bore you. Some of the same questions you get all the time, but I might run into the danger. I might do that, but
no problem.
So we're definitely going to get into Living Life Haunted here in a few minutes. When I'm going to bring up this statement because it's on the cover of your book.
Sure.
And it's a very powerful statement. It's a one-liner towards the end of the cover. As follows: I've walked where others won't and faced what most never will. That is a very powerful sentence, very short and to the point. When you wrote that, because it seems that it kind of just came from the heart and just came out. What does that mean to you?
So for me, being involved on the demonic side of things, which is, very different than what people see on the TV and people going out there and learning how to ghost hunt and all that. For me, it's different. I've been part of things that most people will not experience because the demonic side of it is very rare. It is out there, but it is very rare. And when I say, that most won't, is I can tell you this: the 7 confirmed cases I was on, demonic cases, every one of those teams that had called me in to help assess, they never worked in this field again. They stopped, dead stopped, because they experienced things they didn't think they would experience. And they learned that it's not just about you, that when you're working with the demonic, it can go through you to your family, to people, close to you. So it's more of a dangerous side of the work.
Speaking of that side of the work, is you've been involved in over 1,000 investigations. The percentage of those talking about being demonic or demons are very low.
Yes.
And when I've seen, and I watch very little television. I just don't have time. Just like you're writing books, you're doing
Right.
the events. There are those out there that I think what they're trying to sell, but they're purposely looking for demons or trying to conjure demons to get
Yes.
some sort of reaction. That is not something a normal paranormal investigator would do, right?
No, no, definitely not. I mean, where it's one of the things where like real investigators that are out there doing research and out there going to people's homes and helping people, they're not going to go in and provoke things and stir things up and try to, we're hoping it's not a demon. Our goal is to hopefully go in there and find a natural cause or something that does not point to that. Because it's different than what you see, you know.
You're very well studied when it comes to demonology, and
Yes,
you've been at this for a very long time as well. But you have partners, you have friends that probably seen the same or even more than you have.
right.
When it comes to demons, and this is one of those topics that might be sensitive to some, and I'm
Yeah.
not using this as an entertainment tactic to say I'm going to put in the description of the show Dr. Bill Slevin versus the demons. I'm not trying to get clickbait,
Right, right,
but
right.
is there a certain part of the world that has more activity when it comes to demons? Because I'm thinking since this country's still fairly young, even though we have ancient peoples here before, it seems something that happened more on the other side of the globe.
Um, that's a tough question, honestly, because like ghosts can appear anywhere. And we know obviously places, in Europe and think they've been around, a lot longer than us. So there's a lot more history there. But with demons, it's different because, and again, this is my beliefs. That there's other people that will have very different beliefs when it comes to demons. But for me, a demon has to be summoned in. So it has to be called in, and maybe not on purpose. Maybe using Ouija board seances, black magic, maybe they are being summoned directly. Um, somebody has to call them in. So I can't say that there's a certain area that might have more demonic activity because I think it's wherever the people are calling it into. It doesn't matter. I mean, you have a longer history over in other countries, but I don't know if that really makes much of a difference.
And that's a very fair answer because in a way, people from around the world can bring these practices here in the United States, so they can just
Right.
conjure up anywhere depending on what there is that they're
May
using. And
I
and
was gonna
so
say maybe just one thing, maybe like in certain countries where, and I'm not trying to label anything, you look at like Haiti, there's a lot of voodoo over there. So areas like that, they could have possibly a higher rate just because there's so much of it being used in one central area,
right,
you
and
know.
that makes sense. Now, not that I recommend anybody trying to summon anything.
Right.
You don't want that kind of result in your life.
No.
What are they looking for? So, what would grab a demon's attention saying, this guy's offering this? What attracts a demon to somebody?
Well, again, in my opinion, demons are there for one of two reasons. They want to harm you or have you harm somebody else. So that's their goal is just harm. So, they're looking for somebody obviously that is willing to let them in, but they're also looking for people who are a little already oppressed, in my opinion, because like that's why we say 70 to 80% of our cases are not paranormal related. They're mental health, addiction, fear, grief, trauma, all types of things. Um, so, but they can mimic each other, and the people with mental health can actually be a little more susceptible sometimes to things like that because again they're already a little oppressed, so they look at it like they may be easier to take over. So I think that's more what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that's easy to let them in and open the door to have them there and acknowledge them.
So somebody could be an easy target or an easy vessel for them to be in, and and it's normally not
Right.
just one, because it can be multiples, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's some scary shit there, man. Because
It
I'm not
is.
gonna lie to you, because I know that if you're, and it depends on what side of the coin you are, or what religion, but we are legion, for we are many. I mean, you don't even know how many.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, every religion has something, I was raised Catholic, we have demons, the Jewish faith, they have divics, the Muslims have jinns, but all in all, what are they? They're all demons. They're all the same thing. So yeah, your faith plays into it a little bit, but it's what I tell people is when you see these things on YouTube and TV and everything where the people are laughing like, yeah, I did a demonic case. Oh, it was funny. It was this and that. They were never on a demonic case because a demonic case is not going to be funny. If you're on a real one and you encounter something real, it is not going to be funny.
No, I've had conversations with different people, and it's not for entertainment purposes.
Right.
And you could be running a risk of not only of your spiritual life, but your health, your physical life can be also impacted by these types
Yeah.
of
You-
dealings with these things.
right. If you don't know what you're doing and you're in a person's home, you're putting yourself in danger, your team in danger, the client in danger. It's a lot. It's you don't if you don't know what you're doing, you have to be careful with stuff like that because there's things I saw that I never in a million years thought were real. I thought for sure this was just done for TV, things like that. But, luckily it is rare. I don't look forward to those type of cases. I do them to help people.
And that's one of the things, I think last time when we had a conversation,
Mm,
the goal was to help people and to find
yes.
resolutions. And we also mentioned that it's not always a spirit, it's not always a demon, it could be something completely different. And it's
Right.
good to come at these locations and investigations with an open mind, because you don't want to just say, well, obviously, is a spirit at X, Y, Z. It could be
Right.
anything in the house. And I think that's what makes it better, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Now, being that you've done so many investigations, and I'm only assuming, I don't know, you come to a point where you started cataloging each investigation. And out of these investigations, I know there might be several that always stay trapped in your memory banks. You still think it's like, whatever happened to little Bobby back in whatever.
Mm.
Is there, without naming names, if you don't mind, is there a particular case that every once in a while you get up in the morning, have your coffee, and you're like, I wonder how this guy's doing, or what happened to these folks?
It's funny. That's one of the things I always explain to people, and it's something I kind of talk about in the book a little bit. Um, there's a lot of stuff we take with us after a case. Not always the bad part of it. Sometimes it's just the connection to the families and, wondering how they're doing, wonder if they did something to bring it back. Um, a lot of cases, we stay in contact with the family sometimes for years. And then some people we will go and check in on. There's one case I talk about in the book with a girl that was into astral projection, and I probably contact her a couple times a year just to see how she's doing. She was from Boca over here, and it's things like that. We do stay in contact with a lot of people. A lot of the cases are quick and simple, and it's not something that you get so attached with them. But a lot of the families, though, you do. You go in there, especially when there's kids and they're scared and you want to help them. Yeah, you try to stay in touch with them.
I would assume you would, because sometimes things do come back and you have to go back and do it all over again, right?
Right. Yes. We tell people it's not always just we go in, we cleanse something or whatever, and it's gone. If it's something that is being caused by something you're doing, like let's say you're playing with a Ouija board and you bring something in, and not saying demonic, just anything. If we cleanse it, get it out of the house and help you understand how to, cleanse yourself, but you go use the Ouija board a week later, you could bring it right back. And that's like one of the cases that's in my book with the girl with doing the astral projection. She kept bringing it back because she kept doing it for a bit.
Was she addicted to using this Ouija board?
She was looking. She was doing astral projection, and she was trying to find somebody that she knew that had been killed, that was into bad stuff. He was into really bad dark black magic and stuff. So yeah, she kept looking for him.
Okay, I mean that's a pretty interesting pen pal to want to have. You know, it's like writing a guy in prison. Hey, how you doing? And then they come visit your house. You have your address. I guess same thing with astral projection. You can get into an avenue, make contact with this thing, and it may not be the result you want.
Right, because what she was doing was she was going into a thing called the astral plane, which is believed to be kind of like a purgatory in a way, which is supposed to house a lot of people. So you go there looking for somebody, you don't 100% know who you're actually getting that's going to, respond to you. It may not be the person you're looking for.
And now, on the topic of astral projection,
yeah,
I assume that would be a very hard skill to do. Is that something that anybody can do, or do you have to be really into that type of discipline or know what you're doing?
I would say it's for anybody, but you do still need some of that discipline and that deep meditation and just a grounding in order to get into that state. If you can't do that, it's tough. Like my mind is always racing with so many different things. I'm not the best at meditating. You have to be able to really meditate well and just let yourself kind of go and experience it. Some people get very frightened by it. Some people can't concentrate on it. There's different things, but I think almost anybody can do it if they try hard enough with it and really, attempt it the right way.
Yeah, definitely the right way. I'm assuming it takes, depending on the person, they might take something with them. I'm not saying hallucinogenic. Did I butcher that word?
Right.
Or some sort of potion, or have a couple of shots of bourbon to get you to calm down or to get to that state. You don't necessarily need that, but is that something that kind of goes with that, or?
It can. I mean, as long as you take a little bit just to calm you down. But if you, you get past the point, then you're going to be, astral projecting anyway. So, yeah, it's just the level of it,
Sure. And I'm definitely not trying to make light of it, but it kind of sounds funny. I was thinking, you're going to astral project yourself to the restroom throwing up like The Exorcist.
Exactly.
If you do a little too much of that. Now, I know I'm sorry, man. I'm out of control.
All good.
I know you're very busy and you're always into something. And I've been following you for a very long time. And I'm thinking, now once you drop the book, Living Life Haunted, when did you find the time to write this? And I'm going to piggyback on that question. When was it the right time to do it?
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. I've been writing that book for 3 years. And the problem was, and I don't think I've said this much out there. Originally, I started writing a book on how to be an investigator, because there's a million out there. I've read almost every one of them, and I never found one that I like enough that I could say this is great from start to finish with everything correct, or at least guided to correct of what I believe. So I started wanting to write something like that. And then I stopped myself and I said, you know what? I need to write and let people know my life story first and who I am before you want to buy a book telling you how to do what I do. Know a little bit about me first. So I turned to that. But that book was 3 years. And the reason was I've had, like you said, it's well over 1,000 cases. I've been doing this 37 years now. And what do you put in? What don't you put in? What's most important? It's not about I'm writing a book to scare people. It's not a story. So it's like what's most important. And I went back and forth so many times, putting something in, taking it out, putting it in, second guessing myself of what I want to do. And I came to the decision that I want to make this different. I don't want it just a book of cases. Like, it's not a book of ghost stories. So there are cases in there. There's demonic cases. There's funny cases. There's sad cases. There's a lot of different things in there. But also in between all that is a lot of personal experiences, things people don't see, like what we deal with outside of a case. The dangers of certain things and how we deal with them. Sometimes when we have to take a break and why, how to ground ourselves. There's so much in there. I wanted people to read this and kind of get a feeling of what it's like to be me, to do what I do. So it took a long, long time. And it was the beginning of last year, right when I got back after New Year's. And I just said, I need to finish this. And I just pushed through, took, take my instinct of what I thought at this point needs to be in there and just go with it. And it's a big book. It's 364 pages. It's not a small book.
No, that's great, actually. For us, not only to learn more about you, but it is to learn more about what you've been doing all these years. Now, you mentioned that it took you around 3 years from start to finish. You took a break in between, came back and pushed through.
Yes.
When you look back through your notes, did it surprise you how much stuff you've done?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you saw the amount of stuff I took out of here and the amount of chapters, like when I started with a chapter layout. And it was probably double or triple this because I'm thinking, well, when I start writing this, it's going to be only a couple pages, whatever. And then you start writing the actual details of the story in a different light, because I had to learn that because I've never written before. So all I've done is lecture. So lecturing, I can tell you a story in 5 minutes quickly, the basic of the story. But when you're writing, you got to let people be able to see what you're writing. And I learned it was a lot more than I thought. And I had so many things I wanted to put in there that I had to keep taking out, going, I can't put that in. It's too much. If I don't put that in, I got to take this out. And you sit there with all this stuff going, oh my God, I haven't even touched on a fraction of what I've done. And what do I do with all this?
Well, you found something to do with it. Now, with some of these extra things that you don't have in the book. Well, I'm going to say that for later.
Yeah.
Once you finish the book and it's been published, is out there, and you know a lot of people in this field, probably for decades, many years.
Yeah.
Old friends, new friends, family members, people you've done cases with. If or when they've picked up the book and purchased it and they started reading your book, is there something in there that they might not know about you? That they thought they knew you?
There's definitely some things in there that people won't know. There's a lot of personal stories in there. There's a lot of personal things I've had to deal with. A lot of things I've never talked about on any kind of interviews or even in lectures. A few things here and there, but there's definitely some stuff in there they would not know.
But they'll definitely know once they get the book from you, Dr. Bill. Now,
Yes.
And touching on that, because you're talking about, you mentioned some stuff that you left out. Are you going to repurpose some of those stories? I know it's too soon because you just came out with a book around August and September of last year in 25.
Yeah.
Are you going to do something with these notes? Maybe a volume 2 or?
Yeah, I have, I honestly have about 5 other book ideas in the back of my head of things that all are incorporated into this. Going back to the books about teaching what I do, both from the public side of it, like public investigating, and a separate one for residential, because it is very, very different. And there's not a lot of that out there that explains to you how different those two are. So I'm thinking of doing that. And then I have a couple other ideas with some of my stuff that I would like to do in the future.
And as I mentioned earlier, you've been around for a while, kind of like me. I think you and I, we've been around the same decades.
Yeah.
In the age now where we have a lot of technology to do the research and investigations, back then there wasn't really that much stuff to play with.
Mm.
We had like either an old tape recorder. You might have had a big full size VHS camcorder.
Yep.
I think they might have had one for Betamax. Who knows? It's a long time ago.
Right.
In your opinion, was it better then than it is now, having the technology?
See, now that's a great question because some people may not know. That's what I do during the day. I have 33 years as an IT director. So I'm a definite technology guy. I love technology, but I love what we had back then because it made people think, it made people research, and now they just there's a lot of like I love the equipment. I love playing around with the equipment, but the majority of that equipment would never go into a person's home because it's not reliable. And the advantage I have of 33 years in the technology field is knowing what causes these devices to go off naturally. There's a lot of different things we look for, and it helps me debunk a lot of what we do. But I enjoyed what we had back in, like, so let's say the 80s, early 90s, as opposed to this, just because it was, in my opinion, was more reliable. When if you have a little device that goes off by detecting energy and it beeps, it's great. If you can figure out what that was, it's coming from some kind of energy. But if you take, back in our day, an actual bell and tie it to a handle of a cabinet, there's really only two things that can cause that bell to go off. Some weird air current, which we're monitoring, or somebody touching it. There's no in between. There's no, the walkie-talkie set it off, the microwave set it off. There's none of that on the old school stuff we used. And I appreciate that more because even though it went off a lot less than this stuff, when it went off, you were excited about it.
And this is what I was hoping you'd tell me. Because I'll follow up on that.
Yep.
You've had all, I want to say the word devices or yesterday's technology, and eventually we all upgrade.
Yeah.
Do you still have some of those old tapes and recordings? Have you transferred them over to like MP3s, MP4s? And in the second part of that question, when you listen to those tapes from the past, can you tell us a little bit of what you've heard and where?
So I will tell you this. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of that from way back then because when I started, I was young. I didn't have money for this equipment back then. A tape deck even back then was a fortune.
Yeah.
The people I worked with, the teams that I hopped from, here and there up in New Jersey originally, it was all their evidence. So a lot of it I don't have. There were some things I had that I did lose in a computer crash many, many, many years ago, like maybe about 25 years ago when I first moved here. Everything is triple backed up now, especially as an IT guy. I do have some things that have been transferred. It's in my opinion, it's a different sounding. It's different sounding. Like if you did EVPs back then on reel to reel or cassettes, a lot of them did have a different sound than what you get on the digital recorders. There wasn't a lot of that static. There wasn't a lot of you could hear the staticky almost like an album, you know what I mean? But not that crazy static that we get on a lot of the recorders here. I think they were a little clearer,
And touching on that, you're an IT guy, and I've noticed, not just me, because I've have friends that download and review paranormal apps, right?
Right.
And this is just my opinion, and I might be completely wrong, and most likely I am. When somebody creates an app, a program, or anything, that program is pretty much going to do what that person tells it to do, what it's programmed to do. So I'm thinking that there might be a small issue to where it may not be technically paranormal what it's picking up, but
Right.
it's using the technology that somebody told it to do to say the words it wanted to say. I don't know. Does that make sense to you? Because I'm kind of talking in my own
Sure.
circles here.
Well, here's what I'll say about apps. So it's not going to be the most popular opinion, but I've never shied away from saying what I feel and, in my opinion, what I know, as a investigator for 36 years and a technology guy for 33 years. Do not use phone apps at all, because, like you were saying, they are programmed. So, can an app actually pick something up? Of course. I mean, anything can. They can manipulate electronics. They use energy to communicate. So there is a slight possibility, but the problem is, an app, number one, is programmed to do something. You don't know exactly what it's programmed to do, and there's too many natural causes to go against it. So, like, once you use your phone in anything, even people who record, with their phone, yeah, you could take out the recorder and record with it. The problem you have is your phone has many, many apps running in the background that you don't even know about. Even if you put it in airplane mode, there are still things running that can make a little ding, can make a little noise, can make a little vibration that can contaminate anything you're doing on an app. Now, some of the apps actually are programmed to use GPS so they know where you are, active listening to understand what you're asking, and AI to respond to you. So if you're in a cemetery asking, John why he died, it knows how to respond to you. They're just, in my opinion, they're programmed. It's like anything. Something can come through there, but the fraction of reality through it is too small to judge. I can tell you a million reasons why it's not real. So I tell people, don't use apps. Apps aren't. Plus, if you look at something like, even the real devices, like, let's say, an Ovilus costs $500+. It's still
Wow.
it still has a word bank in it. It's still drawing words. It's interesting device. I like it. But why do you think your phone app that is either free or costs $1.99 can do the same thing that the Ovilus can? And why do you think your phone has the technology in it to do that? A phone isn't a thermal camera. A phone isn't an EMF detector. You know what I mean? So how can it be? I'll give you a good example. I used to work for the last 12 and a half years. I was working at a psychiatric drug and alcohol treatment facility. So one day we were playing around with the adolescent patients there. Somebody did something, and they were calling out the whole group, trying to get them to see who did it. Right. So I went and I said, all right, I'm going to mess with them. I got a phone app that is supposed to be a lie detector. Right.
Okay.
And all you do is you point it at them and you answer the question. You ask them the question and let them answer. And it'll go truth or false, true or false. And we were doing it. And I will tell you this, I can't explain it, because we went around the room and it was like, true, true, true. And then it got to somebody and said false. And then true, true. And only picked one person out. And it turned out that was the kid that actually did it.
Oh,
Now, I will tell you, that has to be the greatest coincidence I've ever had with something like that. We played around with it again after that with people, like, testing it. It's just a random thing because it's programmed randomly. That's why, like, things like Spirit Talker and all those things, they're programmed randomly to sit. The easiest way to do it is take your digital recorder, put it down, and let it record, walk out of the room. Come back in 20 minutes and stop it and play it back and see what you get. Most likely, you're going to get nothing. Put Spirit Talker down, put it on, and walk away for 20 minutes and come back, and there'll be a full-blown conversation on there. Like, get out. Oh, my God, it's evil, and there'll be a full-blown conversation going for 20 minutes. So, that's how I look at that.
You and I are of the same opinion.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got the first iPad came out. I think there was one app back then that was meant for paranormal investigations. I don't remember what it was called, but
Ghost Radar.
I think so. And yeah, there you go. So back then I was like, oh, this is some
Right.
pretty interesting things. Later down the road, you kind of learn the errors of your ways, but I'm not saying it's terrible. In my opinion, I think maybe it
There's
runs to the same thing we were just talking about, just programmed to say whatever it has to say.
Yeah, the problem is there's too many natural explanations for it. I always say that the paranormal is the unexplained. If you can explain it, it can't be paranormal. And for something like that, it's too easy to come up with a million reasons why it's not paranormal. Doesn't mean it can't be. Doesn't mean something can't come through there once in a while, because they can. They can manipulate anything, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around longer than we have, so they can pretty
Yes,
much do whatever it is they want to do.
exactly.
And talking about being very busy with all your projects, you have work, you have projects, you have a book, you're investigating, you're doing shows.
Mm.
When was your last investigation?
Um, as far as public, December 13th, the night of my birthday, we had an investigation at my old office building, and a bunch of us went in. It was a birthday party, but it was also an investigation. That was my last public. Residential, it's been a little bit because I had a lot going on the last few months. Um, between things going on at home, uh, being on the road. So it's been a little bit more toward the summer for residentials, but we get a lot of cases. A lot, almost too many that we can't keep up with. That's why I have people. My team is actually spread out throughout Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, Indiana, UK, Italy, and Greece. So we have people all over the place that could take on cases.
You're a global force of paranormal investigating, my friend. That's a wonderful thing. And then if you're allowed to talk about it, you don't have to mention names.
Sure.
On one of the last ones you were
Mm.
in locations you were investigating, can you tell us what it is that you saw or heard?
So I'll bring up the public investigations in my old building, because we go there quite often now a bit, because it's still there. We have access to it. We have captured some really interesting stuff there. The main things that everybody's gotten in there, and it's my team, and it's also a team war party that we work with. A lot of them, they come up and they're with us. We've all experienced a lot in this building. Mostly, we've seen a bunch of shadow people. We've gotten a lot of EVPs, and we've had a lot of great communications with the spirit box using what's called the Delco experiment. And it's confirmed stuff, because there are some people that we believe are there that we know, on top of whatever else is in that building. And it's been some really, really amazing responses that we've gotten.
Great. And when you're out there, not only investigating, but you're signing the books, making your special appearances,
Hmm.
has anybody come up to you and I'm sure they have, and say, "Hey, I'm having issues here and there." So what I'm trying to get at is somebody talks to you and say, "Hey, I'm having an issue in this house or this location. Where do I go and what do I do?" So for those out there that may be experiencing an issue they don't know,
Right.
how would they contact you and your team?
Sure. So, for me, it's my website is billslevin.com. But if you're looking for actual help like that for a possible, investigation, my team site, which is persfl.com, all you have to do is go there and fill out an investigation request form. It'll come right to me in my email. It'll go to me and my admin team. We'll set up, usually within a couple days, we'll contact you and set up a initial interview through Zoom, and set a team of my team members, which ones we want on that case, and we'll work with you on whatever. We're a full nonprofit. We don't charge a penny to investigate anybody. Everything we do is highly confidential. There are a lot of forms that we have everybody sign, from confidentiality to non-disclosures to all types of things, because that's not what we're about. You will never see us post about our our private cases online. You won't see them on our social media. You won't see anything. The stuff that I talked about in my book is real, but it is not the right locations. It's not the right people's names. And you would have no idea who that was. So I will not ever put anybody's stuff out there without, any kind of acknowledgement from them.
No, and that's fair. Like I understand you want to get the story out, but you got to protect the people. You got to
Right.
protect the locations, and respect the privacy. And I think that's probably why a lot of people contact you and your team, because they know the work that you're doing. You really are trying to help people, and you're not
Right.
just out there trying to get these downloads and clicks, which is why you're very well respected in the field. And
Right.
if we're going to look ahead in the future, what are your hopes for the future in paranormal research? Are there any advancements or changes that you would like to see in the field?
I mean, you just everybody, I've been doing this again a long time, for decades, and it's like you just are looking for some of that solid proof, scientific solid proof, to help more people understand what's actually going on out there, because there are a lot of people that aren't just doing this for the thrill of it. They're doing to help people, to help research. The more we know, the more we can help people, and that's really what it's about. And also educating people. That's one of my biggest things. That's why I lecture at places and I have panels, and I go to colleges and schools and conventions, because I want people out there there's two sides to it. If you're at home and you think maybe you're experiencing something, I want you to understand what's real and what's not, and who to contact, and the type of help, that you can get. On the other side of it, if you're interested in doing this and you want to, be an investigator or get into this, I want you to understand what's real and what's not also, and learn what you should do. Just because you saw it on TV and you think it's a cool thing, maybe you need to stay in public settings and not go into somebody's home, because that's not your route. And it's what you want to do is more of a thrill seeking instead of, helping. Because if you're just thrill seeking and you encounter somebody who has a mental illness, you're not going to know how to help them. You're not even going to know they have a mental illness.
You're not going to help them at all. You might make things worse.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's what we have. Teams like you to help educate and make sure that everybody's on the up and up doing what they have to do, not only
Yep.
to protect the folks in the places where they're investigated, but protect themselves as well. Very important to protect yourself. And I know now 2026 came by so fast. What are your next speaking engagements coming up?
So I have there's a lot that I'm waiting on for the confirmations, but right now, March 14th, I'll be at Sunrise Comic Con down in Sunrise, Florida. It's always a really fun little one-day Comic Con. I'm a celebrity guest there, and I will also be doing a panel in the theater. The following weekend, it's not completely official, but I'll see everybody at MegaCon Orlando, and I'll be announcing anything as that goes along. But then in July, which is actually July 31st to August 2nd, that one I'm excited about. This is the first ever New Orleans Paracon. This one is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be out there. Father Bob will be there. Father Ken. I know Patty Negri, Johnny Zaffis. This is going to be a really, really fun event. It's not just about the panels and us there speaking. We're also doing workshops. So on both days, I will be teaching classes on how to properly investigate a residential home. And then there's other people there doing a whole bunch of other types of workshops, things from paranormal to vampires to everything, ghost hunts at night. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then past that, I don't have all the confirmations yet, but there's a lot of things coming this year.
Excellent. You maybe want to take a road trip. You just mentioned so many things I really want to get involved with that I might just do that. And now for the most important question of all, the magic question, my friend. For our friends, the listeners of Let's Find Out, they want to get their own copy of the book, whether there's an autograph, a download version.
Yeah.
Where can they purchase the book?
So right now on Amazon, you can look it up, Living Life Haunted. I have soft cover, hard cover, and ebook. Thinking about possibly doing the audio version at some point. I will be putting it up shortly, hopefully in the next week, off of my website, autographed. And then also any events I do, I always have the books with me. I also have another book that I haven't even really advertised. It's not a regular book. It's a paranormal journal. It's called, it's a journal. It's Paranormal Investigation Journal and Case Log. You can get it on Amazon also. And what it is let's say you're going on a ghost hunt, you're going on an investigation, even a ghost tour. You want to log your activity and what went on during the case. When you open it up, it'll say case 1, and it will have the flow of the same format of the forums that we use as a team, of what we look for, what we check off, what we want to write down, what we monitor. And there's enough in there. I think it's about 15 plus pages per case, and you can log up to 10 cases on it. So it's something like if you're going to go around and you want to log your stuff, it's a great little, extra handy thing to kind of research, to put your research into.
What an awesome thing to have with you during an investigation. And I'm pretty sure those out there just getting started, that would be the first thing they should purchase. But my friend, I appreciate you coming back on the show. And I know that once the next book comes out, it might even be by the end of the year. I don't know. Sometimes hard to gauge what you're doing. You might get it done by then, but if not, even if the book's not done by then, come back on the show. Let's talk about what you've done throughout 2026. And I'm sure there's some cases that you'll want to talk about and some of the lectures, and let's bring you back on, brother.
Absolutely. If anybody is interested in having me on anything, whether it's a podcast or an event or anything, you go to my website, billslevin.com, and you can contact my manager, Asia. It's asia@methodical.com. If you go to my page, you'll see the bookings page, and it has all her information there.
Yeah, Asia's great. Hey,
yes,
she got us together for this interview, so much love to Asia out there. And Dr. Bill Slevin on Let's Find Out with Diego. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.